Yay! So we are back again for another episode of the Growing in Greek podcast. And as we do always, we got to get some housekeeping notes out of the way. Of course, please tell somebody about the podcast, number one. Number two, make sure you're following on social media and share it. We are at Growing in Greek podcast. You can find us on all podcast platforms. Plus, you can watch episodes on YouTube. And we'd appreciate it if you know someone of the D9 who is doing phenomenal things. Make sure you hit me up in my DM on IG at Grown and Greek Podcast. Now, this episode's guest, she is an integrative financial wellness coach, speaker, and founder of Healing Your Money, which is a framework-driven approach that helps individuals and small business owners transform their relationship with money. Woo. With over 25 years of experience in financial strategy, institutional leadership, and coaching, she's known for her ability to bridge practical financial guidance with emotional and behavioral awareness. Her work centers on the belief that financial challenges are rarely just about money. Woo! Can't wait to dive in. She holds an executive MBA from the University of Detroit Mercy. She's an alumna of Talladega College, HBCU, pride right there. And she's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Kiwi, who believes that money doesn't just reflect what we earn, it reflects what we believe. And when we change the story behind the numbers, everything else can change. Please welcome to the Grown and Greek podcast, my sister, Kimberly Phillips.
Thank you so much, man. I was like, is she reading about me? I love that.
Yes. Did I do okay?
Great. Absolutely.
So on paper and in real life, you are real dope. So, you know, and your bio makes you sound super, super smart. You know, I get a chance to kick it with you on the, you know, on the ground and everything, yes. But you are really all up here doing your thing. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I want to dive in real quick. It seems like you are like a wealth and wellness whisperer, and you have kind of like brilliantly found the formula to breaking, you know, generational patterns, you know, traumatic patterns, and things that will like free people from not only the rat race but from lack.
Yes.
Please explain the genesis of this epiphany and how you realize that, you know, money is just not about numbers, but when you hit a certain plateau, like mesh with your belief system, it, you know, engages your emotions, your identity, and, you know, breaks those generational wealth trauma things that we have going on.
Well, that's it. You said it. You said it. That is, listen, you set it up perfectly. You set it up perfectly. So my background is actually in banking. I worked in the banking industry for a number of years. And during that time, I worked with individuals, just baseline, you know, checking accounts, savings accounts, loans, things of that nature. And eventually just started teaching about credit and debt management. Started teaching about how to save, how to get out of debt, all of those things. So let's just fast forward to last year. My mom passed away, and she passed away with nothing. My mother worked for almost 30 years as a teacher in the teaching system in Alabama. And when I say nothing, I really just mean nothing, like her Social Security. And so we went through the challenges of trying to ensure that her transition and burial and things of that nature were good. But after that, it was very difficult. It was very difficult for my siblings and I. And one day I woke up and I literally said, wow, she worked her entire life. And yet here we are financially struggling. And so in terms of what she left or did not leave. So as life would have it, kind of just started faith. Honestly, just thinking through the span of her life from childhood all the way up to she passed away. And there were a lot of factors involved in that. So a lot of times we kind of chalk it up to, oh, this person worked so long. Why don't they have anything? But that's not the real question. The real question is, what happened along the way in every season of their life while they were earning the money? And before they ever started earning money, what did they even believe about money? My mom was the only child. My father, yeah, she was the only child. My father, my grandfather, rather, her father worked, was out of the home a lot. And my grandmother, her mother, was, I don't say she worked from home because mamas don't be at home. They be working. Even when they work from home, they really not at home. They're running all kinds of errands, getting everything together for children, so on and so forth, as well as their partner. And so there was a lot of moving parts in terms of her environment. So when I really realized what was going on along each season of her life, it hit me that my mom had a lot of layers and she needed a lot of healing. And I was like, healing your money. I feel like God gave me that. I will not take credit for that. I had started doing a lot of research about healing in the body, and I read this book by Louise Hay called Heal the Body. So that particular day, I was in this pondering space. I heard God clearly say, heal the money, heal your money. Well, when I started researching, heal your money was already taken. So I did healing your money, which really fit because it's just an ongoing journey. Well, here's where that led me. That led me to understand that before we ever earn a dollar, before we ever get a dollar, make a dollar, pay a bill, we already believe something about money. Money is emotional long before it's practical, long before you get into the numbers and the logic around it, the environment you grow up in, who you saw do with money, if it was talked about, if it was secretive, if it was never talked about. So by the time we get into an earning potential space, we have all these beliefs and emotions that are really showing up in our decision making process. So what I do for my clients in the workshops and facilitations that I do, I teach people really how to take the trauma out of their money making decisions and just let the tool be the money, and let's work on the other stuff over here.
So to your point, that is like so like real, because what is it, like people say, like when you get money, it how what is it like when if you grew up without money and you come into money or get money, it really shows like your character but also who you truly were.
Absolutely.
So the negative maybe aspects of who you really were come out. So that whole emotional traumatic part of people really does need to be gutted and rooted in order for you to, I guess, detach and disconnect from having that abundance that you are not equipped to
That's
handle.
right. That's right. And that's what I tell my clients. If you can't manage $300, you can't manage $300,000. Yeah. Whatever you were doing, and to the concept of what you were speaking of, that's why you see all these documentaries about lottery winners who went broke.
Yes, like how?
Right? You like how? How did that happen? How did that happen?
Yes.
Whatever they were doing before they got that money and inherited, whatever habit and belief system and mindset was automatically formulated through their normal natural progression of life, they're going to apply that same belief system when they inherit the money. If you are already giving money away and rescuing everyone, you're going to, when you didn't have money, you're going to rescue people when you do have money. If you were a hoarder of money, never spent, never felt comfortable with money, you're going to operate that way when you inherit a lump sum. If you were a shopper, if you are that dopamine feel when you get to go and shop and be and do all the things, if you were like that before you had money, you're going to do that if you inherit money. And that just goes across the board. And so what it really takes is, what happens is we'll get these, it's the programming, right? It's this programming that we get. So say for instance, I work with a lot of clients who have children And a lot of them say, I just wanted my kid to have more than what I had, or I didn't want my child to go without. Well, as a parent, you really need to go within your child, right?
Ooh.
Because honestly,
Ooh.
by
Okay.
the time you get to the material purchases of things, right? So let's put that on the shelf. As a child, the main thing for anyone born into this world is safety, protection, feeling loved, feeling attuned to, being seen, being heard, being validated, right? When you start using other things to make up the gap, right? If
Okay.
you are a mom that had to work, most of our moms had to work, most of our fathers, they had to work, right? So here's the scenario: they're going to work, hard earned money, okay? And they don't get to be in the space of the home and do all of these developmental things I just said,
Mm-hmm.
right? All right. Christmas comes, birthday comes, all the things, right? Because they're going to work in love, right? And they're also going to work for survival, right? By the time it's gift giving time, you just want them to feel all of the things that you went to work for, all of the things that you worked hard for. You like, here, I love you. I want to show you this love. I want to give you this. And by the time you pair that with a child in school with peer pressure and trying to keep up in these other spaces, that material space can take its own, it'll grow legs and doing its own thing. And that's why we say, oh, the kids are so entitled. They think they're supposed to have everything. Well,
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing. There was a gap there. Whether we as a parent knew it or not, there was a gap there. So when we say we don't want our child to go without, or we say we want them to have more than we wanted them to have more than what we had, well, think about it. The one thing we didn't have was probably our parents in a day-to-day space with
Yeah.
that developmental
Yes.
thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we didn't know all this stuff. We didn't have all this language. We weren't talking about therapy. We were in survival. Let's go. Let's get it. We were being resilient. We were being brave, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you read anything clinical around the progression and transition of a child and child development, and let me be clear, I am not an expert. So put that somewhere at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
disclosure. But I've had to read a lot to come into space with my own life, my own childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, I had to learn what really was supposed to happen in the child development. What does the brain of a child do? What do they think about? What do they feel? Before you even talk about money, before you even give them a gift, before you buy them anything, what is really happening? It's supposed to be safety, attunement,
Mm-hmm.
care, validation, reassurance, all of these things. If a parent, like my parents, they worked all the time, that just wasn't the setup.
Right.
So by the time it was time to buy us things, they were so excited that they were able to achieve that. Now, we also know this is on the back of a lot of, I grew up in the South. So the racism was super off the chain,
Mm-hmm.
like on steroids. But I'm just speaking from a home life perspective right now because I don't want to add all those other elements in, but they are there. By the time we get to the point where our parents were successful and able to do things and buy homes and buy things, that felt good. And we want to feel good and we like to see our children happy. But they really weren't going without. It was the within. That's the part. It's the within. It's the
Mm.
within. It's the within.
That's crazy because you know, same just like you growing up in the South. And um I guess the cool thing is in the reflective part about it is, when you come to this realization, um you should, I think, come to a place of forgiveness, you know,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
before you can change, I guess, your own trajectory.
That's right.
Um because, parents, unfortunately, I hate to say it, like they do the best they can. They really do. They really
They
do.
do. They do. They
And
do.
you know, for whatever reason, they do, the best that they can, and no child comes out, perfectly like they think that they should, or invested all of the time and energy and stuff into it. But our jobs as adults, once we reach that point, is to forgive that, forgive it. And, then those things can, start to be undone or relearned or whatever the case is. And I mean, it's psychological.
Very.
And it's, man, I like applaud you for doing that work, because you were like really gutting out so many things that's like, it frees people to be, it frees people to live in a different reality, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or like desired reality, you know.
There you go.
And so yeah, that's like a big deal. So let me ask you this. What's your and I'm asking for a reason, getting to a point in a transition, but what is wealth mean to you in your line of expertise?
That's so good. That's
I
such a
know
good
that's a
question.
deep word.
It's just
Like
so
a deep,
heavy.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So, can I take a quick point of privilege before I go to that
Please.
answer that question? I want to round out that statement around forgiveness. I will tell anybody that is a superpower. I did not end up being mad at my parents. I ended up being exploratory. Now, anger came in there. Let me be real clear. Because I'm looking at them with the side eye like, now what now? Y'all
Yes.
both going to work. Why are we looking like seriously?
Mhm.
But in the grand scheme of things, to your point, our parents do the best they can. And I tell my clients, because I have to give them permission, because no one wants to have the conversation around their mom and dad. It's so sensitive.
Oh
It's
Lord,
so
yes.
sensitive. It's so tough. And even as an adult, people feel this almost, they shrink if they have to say anything that may not be just in the best light of their mom or their dad. And so I constantly give my clients permission to say, hey, listen, we're going to put mama and your daddy in the I did the best that I could ministry. Let's put them all in there. Let's put them all in there. All right. That protects them and that puts them in a safe place where you can say they did the best that they could, but the best didn't happen for me. Right. And so if you give yourself permission to that, you can take your parents off the hook to do the exploratory work, right? It is not a blame conversation when you start looking at where you started, where you came from, where they started, where they came from. This exploratory conversation is really centered around so you can level set and know where your programming is when it comes to this money piece. It's just very critical. So while that forgiveness piece is happening, it doesn't even have to go down a blame lane at all. If you move it to my mama and daddy is in the I did the best that I could ministry. Okay. They did their part. Now I'm in the exploratory ministry around what that programming did for me and where it led me down. Because some people were able to come out of that space and they were led down a path of healthy programming and healthy images and healthy all of the things. So both can be true. To your question, what is wealth to me? Is everything. It is everything. So, no one thing when it comes to money is autonomous. And here's what I mean. We've seen in the news recently people who have been met with a very dark challenge. And those people had a lot of money, right? And so that wealth piece has to be applied to every part of your life. Am I wealthy in my health? How I care for myself. Not just self-care, how do I care for myself? Am I wealthy in my physicality, my nutrition, my food? When we think of wealth, we really do think of this abundance. But wealth is also a process. It's just not about I have enough, I have all of these things. I'm also wealthy in my process, which produces the actual outcome of wealth. So I don't put wealth in just the category of money and abundance. Your programming, your process, your path, all of that is wealth driven. It's such a heavy word, really, honestly. And I think when you start looking at the messages, especially our social media messages, they're coming through really, really strong. But they're missing some very key components of what really happens in the process of starting wealth, gaining wealth, building wealth, and having wealth. It is all of those pieces that come together.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe in the grand scheme of things that wealth is also what we do in community with the people who are alongside with us, right? So if I'm doing good, I'm healthy, I'm doing the right food, I got the physicality together, got a little coin. I still go to work, but I got a little coin.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing all of those things, am I wealthy if I'm in isolation and alone? And there is no one alongside of me. That's not real wealth to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I listen, we will have to do a whole nother podcast. Because that piece right there, to me, wealth, the ultimate wealth is done in community with all of those pieces. With all those pieces.
You know, and like to that point too, you know, what is it, like the 5 people that you are in the closest proximity to, it kind of tells you what your future is gonna look like.
Yes.
I don't believe that verbatim, because I think you got to have a little connection to your homies, and you got to keep that. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to have a little connection to somebody over here to tell you, girl, no, whatever. But at the same time, it is I think very important to just keep you level. Like you were saying, like you stay level, and always focusing on building yourself, up and all to the next space, the next level, the next part of the process. Now, do you find like with all of the clients and stuff that you've been working with, that there's a, how do I want to ask this question? I guess the way that I need to ask it, women and men, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That women are not as educationally sound or whatever when it comes to being healed in the money space, versus men. And then how do we, bridge that gap, and how do we make that more of an important message for women, to be able to stand on? Because, traditionally, especially in the South, and you being from the South and stuff, we're not empowered in that way. Women, especially Black women, are not empowered in that way.
Yeah.
But more and more, because of shifts and things that are happening in society, and also the fact that you need it. You need that 2-person dynamic to last or whatever, or to have it, in order to survive in your latter years. How do you approach that? And even just speak to that.
Sure, absolutely. So yes, so my majority of my clients are women. I do have a few male clients, but the majority of my clients are women. What I have found, it is not as much gender related as it is the type of programming that they received growing up, the messaging. So as one particular client comes to mind, and actually she wasn't my client, she was actually in a workshop I was doing. And we were in the time where it was time to group share. And she stood up and she told us her name, and she told us she was 33 years old. And she said, I'm a shopaholic. Now, if a person says something so pronounced, you're like, how do you know that? Is that a diagnosis? Like, how did you get to you're a shopaholic? And she said, I'm a shopaholic. I still have clothes in my closet that have tags on them that I've never worn. And so after the facilitation, she was like, now I think it's because she told us a story that so when she stood up in that room that day at 33 years old, she was 6 feet tall. Well, she was also 6 feet tall at 12. So the bullying was off the chain in her life. And kids can be mean. We know that. And so they can just be very mean. And so in this particular scenario, they were bullying her around her height. When she started earning money and got a good job, she started adorning herself with clothes, luxury clothes, things that made her look like fabulous. Well, now she's older, a young adult at this point. She's earning money. And when she puts on these clothes and she goes out into the world, she is getting compliments. She's getting validated. She loves that feeling. And that has now, what she feels, replaced the bullying. I'm no longer getting bullied. I'm beautiful. Mm-hmm. Just like that. But she felt the difference was in her clothing. So when she was able to feel that rush of being told, beautiful girl, you got that now, you wearing that, she went down an addictive behavior of shopping. And so she shared this vulnerable space with us. And I said to her, because she had a lot of shame, don't carry that shame. Because the reality is the 33-year-old wasn't the one shopping. The 12-year-old.
Oh, man. Yes.
That's who's doing the shopping. That's who's doing the shopping. So before I ever get to gender, I want to know, what emotional age are you? If this money is being managed, what age is managing it? And once we unfolded that space, and you could just see she kind of had an aha moment, like around that space, she was like, I just never thought about that. I said, so now, if you're able to heal that 12-year-old, and healing comes in all shapes, forms, and sizes. It could be therapy, it could be fasting, your spirituality, reading books, a combination of things. But the admission in that moment, and the clarity and the vulnerability that she had in that moment freed her in that space. Mm-hmm. So now I'm gonna take it a step further. This person was also dating, right? And when you walk in with this heaviness and this level of programming unchecked, you're asking someone to partner with you in an unhealed version of yourself. And then your money, even in two incomes, start to suffer. So before we get to gender, what is your relationship with this money? What age is spending this money or earning this money, consuming this money, being an entrepreneur with this money? There are so many layers. So to the second part of your question, how do we bridge that so-called gender gap? These conversations, we got to be able to talk about it without the shame. We got to talk about it with compassion. We got to talk about it in safety, non-judgment, not feeling like we've done something wrong or that our parents did something wrong to us. Honestly, it's so many messages and layers that come into our brain, and we just get dysregulated around this thing. I was there. I know what it is to go and buy some bad shoes. I mean, like bad. Anybody know me know I'm a shoe girl. And I'm stepping strong. I'm talking about Clydesdale. I'm stepping. Okay? Only to come home And I put that on my credit card bill. And now that credit card has come and I got to pay for that feeling, right? When in actuality, all I really needed to do was leave my money alone and deal with this emotion that needed that validation.
Is that the work? Like, is that the, yeah, where do you start? Like, is that the, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Like, is that the
that's where
work?
you,
That's
yeah,
deep,
yes.
man.
That
That
is
is
the
deep.
work, sis.
That is deep.
That is the work. That
How do
is the
you
work.
identify that? Like,
Well,
what in the
listen,
world?
this is where I would tell anybody to start. Let's start on the money side. Money is a tool, right? You earn it. Most of us earn it some kind of way. I'll just leave it at that. There's a bunch of ways you can earn it, inherit it, whatever. It's a tool, right? We need it every day to live. We take care of our expenses. I tell people, live beneath your means, spend less than you earn, invest early and often, don't go into debt, save, give, be philanthropic. Those are all tool driven things.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing anything outside of those 4 or 5 things that I said, that's where you start, right? So if you're not saving, why am I not saving? If you don't have a plan for your expenses and income when it comes in and when it goes out, you need to start there. Most people think I know my most critical bills, my rent, my car, my cell phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
You juggling that in your head. And so at best, you're floating when it comes to I'm making a decision. I'm just floating what's in my head. I look at this bank balance. I got it. I can do it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
When you start writing things down, tracking things, you can ask any millionaire right now who earned their way to being a millionaire. They will tell you in their top 5, they tracked their expenses. They knew where their money was going. So there are certain baseline things. Now, budget is a bad word in the world of people who don't want to deal with it. So I just say, what's your plan? What's your plan? Your income and expenses plan. What's the plan for your money, right? You have to know what is happening with it. I had another lady in a workshop. She had a massive breakdown because it was time for her to write down her student loan debt, and it was over $100,000.
Oh Lord!
And she had never
That's a stroke,
ma'am. And listen, she was in there panicked. I'm
know
talking
she
about
was.
sweating. And so I went to her. I asked, was it okay to touch her back? Just from a soothing perspective. I wanted to, have permission. And I said, it's okay to touch her. She was like, yep. And I said, tell me what's going on. She was like, you all asked, because we were at the point in the workshop, we were asking people to write down their debt privately to themselves so we can get them started. She was like, I've never written down this number. And I said, why have you never written it down? She said, because once I write it down, it becomes real and my life is over and I won't be able to do anything. And I said, well, look at you right now. You haven't written it down, yet you're panicked. You're nervous. You're anxious. You're not living life anyway. You're just avoiding. So for people that this conversation applies to, starting has to do with what are you doing with the money that you get? It's just that simple. You shouldn't spend from your balance. You should spend from your budget. The balance in the checking account just holds the money. You are the provider of the direction of it. So having more real conversations. Most people that's in a relationship, one person is a spender, one person is a saver. Both of them are important. Both of them are important. Avoiding is kryptonite to this process. Making yourself believe that it's too overwhelming, that you can't get your hands around it. You only feel like that because you've been avoiding. It's like working out. I did not want to go back to work out. I had been off for 6 months. And I was like, oh, I can't go back. Oh, I can't go back. I can't go back. I was like, my body gonna hurt. I'm gonna die. I can't go. Then I was like, you gonna die if you don't go. Right? Your starting point is the point that you know change is needed and you are ready for what you don't know. Because that's what it is. You're avoiding really what you don't know. You think you know, but you're really avoiding what you don't know. If we don't have more of these conversations, right? A lot of people don't want to admit how bad it is for them financially. But even worse, the chokehold they're in because their relationship with money is bad too. Not just, I don't have this money, but I don't have a good relationship. And here's what I mean. My last client was like, oh my God, I only have $50. I only have $50 in my account. Now, her panic is an 8-year-old that watched her mom struggle, right? Now, she's 30-something, and she's in a struggle. She watched her mom panic. All she knows to do is panic. And I said, when we do this work together, there is difference in a $50 balance with panic and a $50 balance with purpose. She keeps thinking it's about the money. It's about how she's thinking about it. And all of the things that are trying to get into her head about the decision around the money. We got to put that to the side and have these tough conversations. So I said, have you talked to your mom? Oh, she won't talk about it. She won't talk about it. We got to talk about it.
You know, I was going to ask you like a question about like avoidance and
Mm-hmm.
you know what that looks like. So that's leading me to my next question. It's crazy how just stuff aligns.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, you know, in that, how do you do your little self-talk, I guess, in this process to understand when you are being responsible versus you operating in fear?
Oh, that's so good. So, a couple things.
Okay.
Responsible is such a subjective thing to say, right? I think, so let me back up, and I think I shared this with you when we initially talked. When I went to my doctor and we had to talk about menopause.
Loud.
Baby, let me tell you something. I got my fan right here.
I got a little while longer.
Yes.
I got a little while longer.
Girl, listen, hold on.
I got a little while longer. I got a little while longer.
Hold on.
Thank you, Jesus.
So if you hear something in the background, I know, listen, I'm trying to keep my background down, but listen, if it feels like somebody...
You are not telling the truth.
I am. I officially hit this month at 52, honey. Listen.
Kim, you are not telling the truth.
So tell the truth. At any given time, it feels like somebody has stuck me in an air fryer and put it on hot. So, be clear. So, she said,
another real conversation.
Yes. Oh my God. Such another real conversation. Yeah, such another real conversation. Oh God. So she sat me down and she said, Kim, the prep for menopause really starts in your early 30s. And I said, what, lady? She said,
y'all been around here lying.
Because we learned it as the change.
Yes. You knew and forgot to tell everybody that's on your client list, like,
ma'am,
until you walked in
ma'am.
there one day and like, what? I'm
What?
crazy.
Crazy.
What's wrong with me? I'm crazy.
Period.
I went crazy on Wednesday, and I had to call an emergency appointment in here on Friday because I was really
Yes.
about to take everybody out, like,
Period.
and myself,
Yes.
and revive myself and take everybody
Yes.
out.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Why y'all do that?
Why y'all do that? Yes, sis. I was like, my 30, she said, yes. She said, your doctor probably didn't know. She said, but if you every season of life has a baseline: nutrition, exercise, and sleep, rest. And she said every version and age that you are needs those three things, no matter where you are in your life: sleep, eat, nutrition, right? So she said, from that point to this point, everything you did then is now what's showing up for you now. Whether you did it healthy or unhealthy, now you're in the manifestation of that. So I said, okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I got exactly what you're saying. I have now taken that same concept with my clients. At a baseline, everyone has a framework within this money space. How you care for your money does change over time, right? So a person in their 20s just starting out, right, does something different than a person who's in their 50s being a caretaker for their parents, right? So the circumstances change the seasons, the age change the seasons, but there's a baseline. You still need to have care around your money. You still need to have a plan around the money. You still need to make sure that you are in community and moving in a space where your financial care is not just based on your circumstances, but you have a template to look at your expenses. Am I investing? Am I saving? Am I in debt? Those things like don't ever go away. And once you get to a final stage of life, when I say final, I don't mean death, I meant you're in that retirement space and all that, then that changes. When fear is there, you're not able to do those things. You're not able to. So I just walked you through the responsible side, right, of what could be deemed as responsible. When you live in fear, all of that kind of goes out of the window. You decide very emotionally. You decide from panic. You decide from grief. I have a young lady who used to go shopping for shoes every 2 weeks because she had to go and pick up her son from his dad, and the mall was next to where the dad lived. But the dad now had a new wife, a new girlfriend. And so it would trigger her and it would send her into this space. And she would leave from there and then she would go and she would shop for shoes. That was her trigger. That was her trigger. Fear it can mask itself. We can say, okay, this is my retail therapy. Let's talk about that. Therapy is supposed to be a healing space. It's supposed to be a safe space. It's not a trigger space. It's not an adrenaline space, right? And therapy is, when people say retail therapy, they're saying, because this shopping makes me feel better. Well, therapy is not just supposed to make you feel better, it's supposed to make you feel purposeful. There is a long-term space when you're doing therapeutic work, right? So we got to stop masking it. It's coming out in every aspect of our life. On our children, scared that they may hate us if we don't buy them what they want, scared that they may, I don't know if you saw the big podcast about what Oprah did. It was called basically detaching from your family or being estranged from your family. We put money in places that it shouldn't be, trying to keep people around, trying to keep relationships going, scared of being lonely, all of these things. That fear, you'll know it's there because it's living in your body. It's not settled. It's not settled. Everything about fear lives in your body. So when it's time for you to make this purchase or hoard this money or rescue somebody, when you feel unsettled in your body, that's fear. Responsibility has a peace and a calmness about it because you trust what you're doing, and so does your brain. I believe that just like our bodies, there's no point in life where financial care isn't needed. That's what my doctor was telling me. There's no point in your life where this care about your body is not needed. When we start to know what season we are in, we can start really putting that financial care together. It's not just numbers on a paper, in a spreadsheet, in an app. That's not how money works. Because if we don't start pulling back the layers of how we learned it, how we earned it, who we got the messaging from of what to do with it, we're just spinning our wheels at best, and we're hoping for the best. And hope is not a strategy.
No, it's not. No,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
Now, we're in a space too now where so many so many people have lost their jobs, in particular Black women, and it's it's gutting the family dynamic and even singlehood or whatever, and what that looks like. And so how do you prepare for that? Like, what does that look like? How do you recover from that? Because what I hypothesis or prediction, I don't know. I think a lot of successful entrepreneurs will come out of this time. But what does that look like from your expertise to prepare for that that new space?
Absolutely. To prepare for that challenge that is amongst us. So I'm going to answer that in two ways.
Okay.
For people who lived on the responsible, we'll just use that word for right now. And I don't think that people are necessarily responsible or irresponsible. I think circumstances just throw them into some spaces, right? But there's a group of people who lived with emergency funds, and they live below their means. They spend less than what they make. They're not in a lot of debt. And so their pivot and their ability to shift in the window that they need to shift in is, it feels very not as panicked, right? For those of us who have not necessarily prepared, not so much to lose their job, but they just didn't live in a preparatory space along the way with money. That person now has to take a pause and look at what's the biggest pain point financially that's happening with them, right? If I'm just losing my job and all I'm doing is just losing my job and I'm not minimizing that, and I've done all of these other things, those people are going to pivot. They're going to pivot. I've been invested the whole time. I had my emergency savings the whole time. I stayed out of debt the whole time. I've been managing all of these other places. I don't manage it emotionally. I manage my shopping. I manage my travel. I don't have a big car note, that kind of thing. Those people, even when they lose their job, they're still going to apply those things. For a person now that's losing their job and they've never done those other things, they have to look at that pain point. So it's not just that income is not just coming in. I also have to look at what can I do? Let me back up. What pain point do I have in my life that even when I was working, I probably needed to do something about this anyway? It's not going to be just good enough to just go, well, let me just get another job. if you haven't been doing those things that I just named, does you follow what my logic is? It has to be a point where you take this pause, right? I've lost my job. Money is not coming in. Now, there are so many different resources out there where people can say, you can apply for this, you can apply for this, you can apply for this. My job is around programming and mindset. All right. So I'm speaking it from a within resource. All right. That pain point around money, typically when people have lost their job, is their lifestyle comes into question. Whether it's where I live, whether it's what I drive, whether it's trying to make sure my children or my kids are okay, all of that comes into question. Part of the mindset shift around that is whatever I was doing, I need to take a pause and I just need to make an assessment. I need to make an assessment. Can I keep this car? Can I keep this house? Do I have to live with someone? Now, these are very surface answers that I'm giving you, but I'm using these as explanations to say it in this way. A hard decision may need to be made immediately upon losing that job, upon losing that income, right? And it doesn't have to come with a lot of shame. I think the honesty around what we can continue to do and what we can't do has to be present. If it's with our spouse, if it's with our young adult children. Now, if it's a single mom, she got little kids and they don't know what's happening and it's just her and them, she still has to do the same thing. Let me just take a pause. Let me look at my pain points. Let me look at what's going out. Let me look at what's coming in. You're literally building the relationship money, whether it's feast or famine. That never stops. That never stops. Crisis doesn't automatically bring this exploratory space with money. It should already kind of be there. When a person loses their job, it's not just a financial event. It's very emotional. It's very emotional. And it can also come with a lot of shame and embarrassment. All right. So remember, I said, I'm talking from the resource that comes from within. And taking a pause, being compassionate, allowing your nervous system to calm and love on yourself in such a bad, tough situation. That's very warranted, right? So before we get to, I got to make this money, I got to do something. I know it's easier said than done, but I've lived this out myself personally, so I know. In order for you to even come up with a plan, panicking and planning will not yield you good results. All right. The second thing I would say is separate the financial income from your identity. Your identity.
Oh my God. That is so hard.
It is, which comes down to this relationship with money. That's exactly, yes, you got to separate because your job ending didn't end your value. It didn't. It didn't end your value and it doesn't. But if you don't separate it, you're going to make fear-based decisions. You're going to make fear-based decisions. The next thing that I would say is get grounded in what are the facts, not the feelings. Write down. Here are the facts. This is what I owe. This is who I owe. These are the dates that I owe it. Those are facts. Don't do feelings. Deal with your facts. And then resist desperation. Just resist this level of desperation.
Wow.
Because it'll try to consume you and make you believe, I gotta do something. I gotta do something. But if you resist that desperation and do step 1, 2, and 3, the money becomes least fearful. And your calmness and your regulated system and the calmness in your body and the peace is not making a fear-based decision.
Mm-hmm.
You would be shocked, sis, of how much decisions become just because we're scared or because we're embarrassed or because we're shamed.
I'll tell you what, and this is so like reflective, but it's empowering too. Because I can think back on my 20-year-old self, and I've been fired like plenty of times.
Understand.
At this point, it is
Yeah.
what it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
If you've lived a little life, whatever, and
Yeah.
some people have those fortunes.
Yeah.
God bless them,
Yeah.
but that has not been mine. And I'm not embarrassed at this point
Yeah.
about those things because it helped me to evolve. Those situations helped me evolve, but some of them helped me to realize I shouldn't have been there in the first place. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
or it was a time in my life. But to your point about those stages and some of the decisions that I made were completely out of fear. Completely, my next moves were out of fear, which I ended up going down a path that caused me to delay, my destiny or whatever, or my next triumph. And so, you are like, you are awakening, like, and enlightening so much, in this conversation because it is on point. And I don't think, most people realize it, just like me. Most
Mm-hmm.
people don't realize it until having those broken down conversations happen. And so,
Yes.
it is very necessary that you make this a part of your wholeness, because
Yes.
as an
Mm-hmm.
adult, you have those layers, and your financial health is a layer, that
That's right.
you have to nurture.
That's
So
right.
someone who okay, two questions.
Okay.
First question is, what is the ultimate success for you, for your clients, going through your program, at the end? Or when do you I guess, when are you satisfied with the results of the person that has been through your program? And then second question is, how do people become a client of yours to get this goodness and this knowledge in
Absolutely.
your program?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So good question. Um, I will not, let me say this. I try to make sure I don't lean into labels a lot, right?
Okay.
So I won't say success versus not successful. Even when we talked about responsible, not, because labels are so confining and they
Mhm.
make you feel super black and white and that you got to fall into one or the other. And because this work is ever evolving and if this work is so sacred and it's very intimate, I would answer that question to say, when my client starts seeing themselves whole, that's the first layer of succession.
Okay,
All right.
succession.
That's right.
Woo, yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
It's just the first layer.
Yeah.
So, because when people say, oh, who's going to be your successor? Who's coming after you? Well, what's now coming after that layer?
Mhm.
Because healing, ing, ongoing, motion, mobility, right? When I get a client, they do an assessment and I ask them about their goals, not just their financial goals. I ask them how they want to feel about money, how they want to heal about money. And so I refer back to that assessment throughout our time and work together because it's what they told me, right? And that means as a coach and a wellness educator, a financial wellness educator, I need to meet them right where they are. So the first layer of feeling that succession for the next layer is they see themselves. They see themselves whole. They feel a transition is happening within them. They feel that they can dismantle some of that programming that they showed up with. And then especially if they have children, they'll start migrating to, I want to teach my kids this. I want my kids to know this. I want my kids to feel this. I just got a new client who has a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old, and asked me would I put together a program for them because their 14-year-old and 12-year-old think money grows on trees. And I said, but they got that from something.
They sure did.
You're the tree grower. You're the tree grower. And so when they start not being so emotional about the money, and they start saying, okay, I need to do this, this, and this. This is my checklist. I'll ask them, what did you feel when you had to spend this money, save this money, keep this money, didn't have the money? Write down the emotion that's going along with it, because it's living in your body, right? So the succession of the next level is they can regulate and balance the emotion no matter what the money is doing. It's not taking them high and it's not taking them low. They can stay very, really grounded and see the money as a tool and everything else as an emotion. And how to work with me. So 2 ways. I do have a website. It's called healingyourmoney.com. There's a contact me it's somewhere on the website. I didn't do the website, so I apologize if I'm not describing it, but I know if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a contact me. And I think if you click at the top on the headboard bar, it's there. Well, you could just email me. I'm info@healingyourmoney.com. Email direct. I check my emails every day. I do respond. I do follow up. And also for people who want to book me for workshops and facilitation, same way. Go through those two channels. I also have Instagram. Listen, 52, trying to get my social media on. Okay, come on, through. Social media.
Come through, Look, all you gotta do is put $ and AKA, and they're gonna click. They love thumbnails.
Yes.
That's what I'm learning. Thumbnails.
Thumbnails. Yes. Thumbnails. Yes. Healing at Healing Your Money. That's my Instagram. Healing Your Money. And you can also find me there, DM me there, or whatever. That's totally fine too.
So we haven't talked about AKA and Talladega College. So we're gonna high level this.
Okay.
But I just want to, just give you kudos. So the Chi chapter at Talladega College is the oldest AKA chapter in the state. A lot of legacy there. You're an HBCU graduate, and I've spoken to a couple of your little sisters, I think. Right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. So Dr. Hubbard and Meredith.
Yes.
But what does, because I'm further down the list, being an initiate of Mew chapter. We were 78. Y'all were like, were 100 years old. So yeah. So we were founded in 78. I mean, the mantle that you carry, is heavy.
Very much so.
And what is, I mean, what has that experience, been like, holding that mantle of, our founders, because you are very close to 1908. Very close to 1908. And, so that mantle, but then also the spirit of HBCU and everything, how has that really, shaped who you are as a member of the D9?
Yes. Oh, wow. Whew. Okay. How much time we got? Okay.
We got time. I mean, we got time. But I'm just,
Yeah. So let me say this. I initially wasn't going to a HBCU. I was initially going to a PWI. Okay. My mom was an educator, and she taught everywhere. And she taught black, white. And I just knew about education, did not really understand the magnitude of an HBCU world. And so I was going to a PWI, and my best friend was like, "Girl, you going over there? We're going to Talladega." I had never heard of Talladega. I was like, "Okay, I'm going to Talladega." Got my little scholarship, UNCF. Shout out to the UNCF, whoop whoop, for giving me a scholarship, a partial scholarship to go there. Ended up in a lot of student loans, a lot of student loans, a lot of student loans. But
it's private. It's a private.
Yes, yeah,
Private
yep,
institution.
yep. So my freshman year there, I'd never been in any environment like that before from a collegiate perspective. And then when it was time for, because at that time you went to Rush and, informational and all of that. And, sororities would come and seek you out and say, "Hey, can I come and talk to you?" You had all these sidebars and that kind of thing. And I was just none the wiser. My brother, who is an Omega, and if you cut him now, he will bleed purple. Has been an Omega for like 40 years. So that's all that was in my, you saw purple and gold. I literally did not know anything existed outside of that. Because Omegas, baby, they the unicorn of the D9. Listen, like literally. So he was and that was his brotherhood. That was his brotherhood. And I went to parties with him. Everybody was like, that's D little sister, that's D little sister, kind of thing. And I'm walking around like, yeah, I'm D little sister, I'm D little sister. But that Omega life for him was so pronounced. So by the time I got into Talladega, that's kind of really the only really world that I knew that in terms of someone brought me into it kind of way, in terms of D9 life. So by the time you go to Rush, go to informational, people pull you to the side. Well, what you thinking about? I had a friend of mine that I gone to high school with. She also went to Talladega. I asked her what she was going to do, and she told me what she was going to do. So I was like, I'm going to do what you're going to do. So I can't necessarily tell you I had this, I always wanted to be an AKA, loved pink and green. I kind of moved through connection of people who I were connected to, people who I trusted, people who were willing to share time and space with me. Well, of course, that eventually grew and evolved. We just celebrated our 33rd. I crossed in fall of 92. So I'm 33. Woo-hoo. Shout out to the 10 Prices Paradise. And we all still move together. We all still talk together. We got a group chat. We got the whole thing, whole 9 yards.
Somebody said, "What's happening, sis?"
Absolutely. So here's the real tea. So you move through life together, you graduate, then life happens. You're working, you're marrying, you're momming, you're daddying, you're doing all the things, and then life seems like it gets away from you, right? And so you have to have a great effort to stay connected, to stay engaged. Because while we are wonderful, and we are the D9, like anything else, you have to stay connected. You have to stay available. And so, and then you have to really communicate in ways that keep the intimacy of the space going, right? We are really no different than someone forming a sisterhood and a brotherhood and moving life together. Now, I will never minimize our founding spaces and what it took for the founders to create the D9. But in the grand scheme of things, the sisterhood and the brotherhood that we move with is just unmatched. It's unmatched. And we move in a heart space. I mean, I've literally been at the airport getting ready to pay my bag fee, and I got my AKA tag on there. And she was like, so, we doing our little thing. And she was like, "Fee waived, you good, so I'm like, thank you. I need that little $45. So it has
on the shield,
on the shield. So it has one of my Summer Woods. She is by far that girl right there, AKA brought us together. We have a friendship that is just unmatched. Going to a HBCU, seeing you, being with you, meaning people like me, right? Did it come with its challenges? Yeah, I mean, college life just does. You get your heart broke. You figure out friends and who not friends, and all that's a part of it too. I won't minimize that, but I will say this: there is nothing like an HBCU because our spirits are there, our hearts are there. We see each other, we love each other. Some of my 30 plus, we just celebrated our 30 years of alumni weekend at Talladega. I still have those friends to this day because we're trying to do life together. And that's why this work has become that much more important to me because I want to cast my net and I want to leave my footprint. I want to have my impact. There is no way I can do that without the Divine Nine. There is just no way. There is just no way. When people hear that you're part of the Divine Nine, let alone and one AKA to another AKA, something happens. This pride just takes over, and it's just a love fest. Like, oh my God, I'm so glad we met. The circles we compare, who we know, and all of things, and then it comes to this full circle moment. And so it has meant everything. And I grew up in a very tumultuous house, where the sisterhood and brotherhood of natural siblings wasn't always formulated in a healthy way. And so sometimes, I see my sisters just as, additional, on top of things that I may have missed. They can never replace my sisters. It don't matter how much we go through. We are sisters, and my brothers. But even my brother, who's an Omega, he was the oldest out of the six of us. He talks about this brotherhood saved my life, at a time where, we were really going through it as a family. And I feel that way about my HBCU and my sorority. And now I'm in a, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So now I'm in a grad chapter in Detroit with two of my actual biological sisters. We all are sorors together. We're sister sorors together. So it's a sweet, what is the word I want to say, experience to do that with my actual sisters.
You are Great Lakes region?
Yeah.
The Great Lakes region. Okay.
Great Lakes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, they you and other sorors included have I've been able to, be in some common spaces and stuff and just y'all be live, be lit up there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for sure. The energy is good.
Yeah, the energy is good and very very genuine. And it's so funny because being here in the southeastern region, and there's a whole different culture that happens in Great Lakes than it is
Me and Summer talk about that all the time. Yeah. We literally talk about that all the time.
Very much so. But the love and the genuineness is absolutely
pure.
There. Yeah, very pure. But Talladega, I have an affinity for Talladega, and I have an affinity for Chi Chapter, and I'm so thankful that you agreed to join me on the podcast. I've seen you from a distance for many years because of my sister and my brother, and I'm just so grateful to have now a new friendship with you. I know we've been sorors and we wear the same letters and all that stuff, and we've turned up together and stuff. But to have a time and a space to really see your value has been very much an honor for me. So thank you so much for sharing you with me and with the audience, and I hope that people will see just how badass you are. Because one thing I can say is you are super fly, like in dress and in the way you carry yourself and your presence. But you're brilliant. You are absolutely brilliant, and I had no idea that you were as brilliant as you are. So thank you so much for sharing. your brilliance with me just for a little bit.
I received that. Thank you for inviting me. This has been an honor, and this has been an absolute privilege. I've been thinking about it all day. Like, I'm so excited to be and talk to my sister. What you're doing and what you're putting out in the universe is so critical. It's dynamic, but it's also critical. We need you. We need this work. We need your messages. I went and looked in that thumbnail space on YouTube. I said, "Come on, sis, you better come on."
But you know, like the thing that I'm enjoying, about this conversation is, you are bringing the importance of wellness.
Yeah.
Wellness, like, and breaking traumatic generational stuff with us. And one of the ways that we have been so beaten down is with our finances.
Yeah.
And not equating that, getting that together will just lead to other areas of your life being together. And so your work is critical. Your work is necessary.
Thank
and
you.
I have learned so much. And like I said, it's been reflective, but it's been necessary. You know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
as we get older and we go through these stages and everything, you do, taking that beat, taking that assessment, will help you to realize that, first of all, it ain't so bad. It ain't so bad.
It ain't so bad.
It ain't so bad.
It ain't so bad.
But you got to tap in. You got to tap in to get there and to realize that it ain't so bad.
That it ain't so bad. And I don't ask my clients to do nothing that I haven't done myself. Mm-hmm. Everything that I've spoken to you about and that I've offered as solutions and insight and guidance, I have done myself tenfold. And I still do the work to this day.
And you're so calm about it. So you're so
absolute.
You're so calm.
That's God, sis. That's God.
Amen.
That's God. That is, I will take absolutely no credit for that. And I will tell you this, for those who are believers, because I don't know the entire audience, but for those who are believers, when you surrender this thing, and I mean surrender, full circle, not just your money, but everything that causes you angst, make your chest hurt, keep you up at night, have your thoughts racing. It is the surrender that is the sweet spot. That is the sweet spot. The work I've been doing of my own, I've been at this for a long time. And I stay available for the succession, for what's next. But I got to clear this level. And I can only do that through surrender. Calm and thinking through is a superpower. That fear, that panic, it really does rob us. So I'm so thankful that you have been able to give me this platform to spread this message. I am eternally grateful. I'm humble. And I just feel like it was a privilege to sit in this space with you today.
I give it to him just like you do. I do. And it's not by coincidence.
Oh, so no.
I'm thankful.
We sisters for life.
All day.
For life.
Into perpetuity.
Yes.
You know that word.
Yes, ma'am. Very much so.
Well, Kimberly Phillips, it's an honor, it's a privilege. And one more time, how can people connect with you and share space with you and celebrate you?
Absolutely. All right. So Instagram, Healing Your Money. My website, healingyourmoney.com. And when you go to healingyourmoney.com, I have a contact form. You can complete that form. And it will come right to my inbox. And I typically ask for 40 hours to respond, but I definitely will respond. If I don't respond, something's going on. So those are the 3 ways to definitely reach out. So let's talk, let's chat. I do consultations. I know I'm not a good fit for everybody, but I definitely am willing to, anybody that's willing to listen, I'm willing to talk about.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again. And y'all, please like, share, comment, spread the message about this episode and, of course, about Grown and Greek Podcast. Follow us on all podcast platforms, on social media at Grown and Greek Podcast. You can follow us and listen on podcast platforms, wherever you get your podcast, and watch full episodes on YouTube. And we will do this thing again really, really soon. Thank you so much for joining us. You can support Grown and Greek by subscribing to the podcast, shopping our exclusive luxury accessory line, or purchasing books from the D9 Book Club by visiting our website at grownandgreekpodcast.com. Don't forget to like, comment, and share on social media at Grown and Greek Podcast. Thanks for watching.